Hello and welcome into a post-game edition of State of the Sun Devils alongside Jake Anderson coming from Stillwater and Jesse Morrison. I'm Jeremy Schnell. Jake, you were on hand for the unfortunate defeat of the Sun Devils today. 34-17, Oklahoma State takes this one. Jake, just initial thoughts post-game from you.
It kind of went maybe not chronologically the way I thought it was going to go, but in terms of what, if you were to just only know the final score and look at the stat sheet, it's kind of exactly what you thought. I mean, ASU was in it. They weren't really blown out, but at times of the game, it was weird. You thought that they were going to win it in the first half for sure, but ever since that Valade fumble, I mean, literally the momentum, the crowd, everything just flipped on its head. And from there on, it was all OSU, even though ASU did come back and really did make it a ball game.
I've got a first takeaway here. You guys have clowned me for wanting to do score predictions. I said it was going to be 38-21, which is a 17-point deficit.
I said 35-21.
Well, I said 38-21, and 34-17 was the final score. So that means it was a 17-point loss for ASU, which I correctly predicted. So please give me some credit here.
Pretty sure I said 45-31.
But again, I got the margin correct. Somebody give me some credit here.
No.
No.
We're going to get into penalties real quick because I think that's a big storyline here, Jesse and Jake. 10 penalties, 95 yards, including 3 personal fouls. Just a similar tale to last season. I not very happy with what I saw today on that front, Jesse.
I'm not happy at all. And it's not just the procedural penalties. It was the roughing the passer penalties.
Yep. 3 personal fouls.
The 3 personal fouls. Why? Why are you doing that? It doesn't make any sense, especially from Pesafea. He's one of the more experienced guys on the team. Why was he doing that? Why?
I will say though, there weren't. I don't think there were any procedural penalties. I think it was all competitive in between the whistles, so to speak. It was defensive holding, offensive holding, personal fouls on pass interference, and then the roughing the passers. Although I think the one, and it's a straight up stupid penalty because it made what would have been a 3rd and long a first down, and Oklahoma State ends up scoring a touchdown on it. Was the Joe Moore roughing the passer, unnecessary roughness, whatever it ended up going down as. But he had no reason to push Spencer Sanders. He literally threw the ball away. And it's just one of those, like, you didn't get the quarterback, you didn't get the sack, and you just shove him into his own sideline for no reason. And it's just something you can't do. I mean, if you see the replay, Jordan Clark comes up to him, I believe it was right after, and talks to him. And I'm sure he tells him, like, hey, man, like, that's just something you can't do, especially in a game when you're an underdog, you're on the road. It's raining and you need every little thing to go your way. If you're giving teams free plays and free first downs, they're going to come back to bite you because they are such a good football team. That this team will be ranked in the top 10 come on Monday.
When Herm Edwards came to Arizona State, I thought he was going to bring in the discipline. He was the guy that would speak at the NFL Rookie Symposium and bring in, and talk to players about making the right decisions.
Don't press send. Nothing good happens after midnight. Mm-hmm. We all knew that. And these
say ASU has not been bad at Twitter. So there is that.
Okay. But what I was saying, again, is that he was brought in and he was a disciplined guy, or at least that's what I thought. And these past 2 seasons have shown that this team has no discipline. And that showed tonight, and it cost ASU in a major way.
And it's not all Herm's fault. It's not all the players' fault. It's not all the coaches' fault. It's everyone it's everyone collectively. Everyone who is talking to these players, all of the players on the field, like, they are making those decisions as well. So it's not just on one person, and it needs to get cleaned up if ASU wants to, at least have a successful season. We're going to go.
And I thought it did. In the NAU game. They were clean, and we saw the penalties against the lesser opponents last year. But, they come out week 2, and it's just the same old ASU. And I'm just so tired of the same old ASU. I want them to awaken the sleeping giant. Like how is it this hard?
And
how is it this hard?
We'll talk a little bit more about each of the drives later in the show, but this is just a microcosm of the penalties in this game. Kick out of bounds. Oklahoma State gets the ball on the 35-yard line. ASU is down by 3 at this point. 23-yard pass, defensive holding, and then 31-yard touchdown. That's a 3-play drive, basically the dagger put into ASU at that point, early in the fourth quarter, Jake.
Yeah, and the kick out of bounds actually doesn't even go down as a penalty in the stat sheet. I keep on Twitter, I keep an ASU penalty tracker, obviously, because of what happened last season, and you won't find it in there. But it did lead and it did set up that drive, which ended up being the flea flicker touchdown, which was brilliantly called and executed. You saw ASU get sucked in, and it was a wide open, easy touchdown for Spencer Sanders to throw. And unfortunately, ASU's pass rush just did not get there. I mean, and when they did, he was able to escape and throw it away or make something with his legs. So I don't think Oklahoma State did anything that really surprised us. That we know that they're an explosive offensive team. They just were able to do what they do best, and that's just move the ball down the field really quickly.
Let's go over a few of the kind of turning points of this game. ASU's first drive, they get a field goal after Jones somehow overthrew Swinson, 6'8" Matthias Swinson, wide open in the end zone. Then after that, Oklahoma State goes 5 straight drives without a score. This is ASU up 3-0 at this point. ASU didn't take advantage and were then down at the half by a score of, I believe it was 17-3 at that point.
Correct.
ASU could have very easily been up, and it could have been opposite at that point. It could have been 17-3 ASU at that point, but obviously it wasn't. Then after the half, ASU down 17-10 after a touchdown drive. Great play by Badger on that drive. Or no, it was actually
it's Gio Sanders.
It was Sanders who caught the ball up the seam.
Walked on at ASU. Yeah, he's getting some playing time.
He took the ball all the way down to the 2 or 1 yard line, and then Valadez walked it in. And then ASU gets the ball back after a stop, and you're like, okay, they're back in this game. But then there was a strange decision in the third quarter. It was starting to rain. The wind was going toward the kicker. 4th and 6, they decided to go with the field goal from the 30-yard line. It would have been a 48-yard field goal with the wind blowing toward the kicker. And then after that doesn't go in, Oklahoma State goes 8 plays, 63 yards to go up 20-10.
Yeah, you on that play or on that sequence, I would have either gone for it or brought out Chaplitsky and tried to kick it out of bounds at like the 10. I don't understand what they were doing there. With the rain, freshman kicker on the road, you're going to bring him in.
He's very good.
He's very good. He's very good. Nothing against Carter Brown. Nothing against Carter Brown. I just wouldn't do it.
48-yard field goal against the wind.
It's conservative Herm yet again. Conservative Herm.
It's not conservative enough at that point.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be super,
you punt.
Yeah, you could punt there, but I probably would have said, "Go for it. You're down. It's a big game. Nobody's expecting you to do anything this year. If you get it and you go down and you somehow take the lead, like everybody would be."
They could have gone 8 plays, 63 yards either way.
Yeah, exactly. But you've got to at least just roll the dice with this team this year. That's how you're going to get wins, and he didn't do it.
I don't have a problem with him going for a field goal there. I know he was kicking into the wind, and it is a true freshman kicker, but he proved to you last week that he can hit 2 from 44. This is just 4 or 5 yards longer. And it's not like he missed it that badly. It wasn't an absolute shank. The weather obviously is going to be a factor in the kicking game, especially, but you got to get points. You were struggling to get points, and this is an Oklahoma State team that can put up a lot of points really quickly on you. We saw them go on a 96-yard drive like it was nothing. So hindsight's 20/20 on these type of things, right? I mean, you could even look at when they decided to punt, and it was the 4th and 1, 4th and 2, and then they called the timeout and ended up going for the punt. So you could nitpick little decisions like that. I personally don't have a problem with them going for it. And Herm even was asked about it after the game, and he kind of said the same thing, like, hey, it is what it is. You make that call. We thought we could hit it. You might hit it next time. Who knows? You got to get the kids some experience somehow. And like you said, Jesse, maybe this is the type of time when you give them that experience because, hey, you aren't expected to do anything against this team, and you had a chance. I mean, let's say he makes it, it's 20-20. So
Do we want?
It's 2020.
Do we want to talk about the positives to take away from this game? Because like they did kind of hang with Oklahoma State for a little bit there.
And
like that's a positive.
I was telling Jesse earlier before we got on here that I think this was even more winnable than the game that they were up 17-0 at the half against Utah.
I think they should have won this game.
Yeah.
ASU should have won this game.
I think it was very winnable.
But there were penalties and inconsistent play by Emory Jones, which we will get to. And, some interesting coaching decisions.
I thought the receivers played well. I thought the running backs played well. I thought
for the most part there was a fumble by Valade.
Yes. And I thought
can't do that.
The defensive line at times was pretty good. No pressure, as Jake brought up, but I think that lack of pressure was due to the Sanders effect of wanting to contain him and not let him get outside of the pocket and run around. But and the secondary played pretty well.
Yeah, the secondary played pretty well. I really wanted to.
Secondary played fantastic.
Yeah, Roe Torrance had a great game for the most part out there. I think he had something like 3 pass breakups in the game, including one in the end zone.
He was the best corner of the night, Mike.
Yeah, for sure. And he left with an injury and came back, so that's important.
Big ups to him. Yeah, and obviously interception by Sully, second of the season, second in just 2 weeks. So.
Keon Markham too, not Keon. Keon Markham, he played really well.
Mm-hmm. There was, I think he almost had an interception there on the far sideline.
Yep.
Yeah. No, but it's a lot of positives to take away, and I think if they clean up the penalties, they can overachieve this season from what everyone's expecting.
I think they can overachieve, but I am really worried about Emory Jones
and the penalties. Let's talk about Emory Jones a little bit. There were so many good drives in there. So many, not so many, but like so many flashes.
So many flashes. That drive that they had going from the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter where he threw his first touchdown pass as a Sun Devil to Badger. He had 2 throws to Badger on that drive that were great. And then the throw to Sanders I thought was a good one. But, you can't miss the throws like the one he missed to Swinson in the back of the end zone on the first drive of the game. That you've got how do you overthrow a 6'8" tight end? How do you do that? It was
overthrown and behind him.
How do you do that?
I don't necessarily think the throw to Sanders, too, was that good. It was behind him a little bit. If he had thrown it in stride, it would have been a touchdown.
I mean, but like it was still a 73-yard gain. I don't think you can really complain too much about that.
I think he played well. He didn't play stellar. He didn't play great. He didn't take over the game or anything. One thing I did notice, and it might be hard to see on TV, but obviously up in the press box, you can see the whole field. You can see the safeties. There were multiple times where they had a guy who was deep and had actually probably beaten everyone over the top. And he ended up going with the intermediate route, which is something we had talked about all week is going to be what they're going for with the 3 high safety look. And he didn't really use his legs. He did talk about post game how he kind of gave up, quote unquote, on plays and threw the ball away rather than maybe try to extend it with his legs. Again,
I'd like to see that.
That's something that they talked about in terms of, remember when the journey's over slide. I don't know if that's something that he was getting in his head, but one last negative I want to talk about is the offensive line to me did not play all that well. Yes, it is pretty much an all senior defensive line from OSU, but there's just so much inconsistency at left tackle between Isaiah Glass and Emmett Bull and Chris Martinez, who is actually one of the better of the 5 linemen along with Ladarius Henderson. He got beat a couple of times, it looked like, and gave up, if not a sack, a big pressure. I mean, ASU hasn't recorded a sack defensively yet. And granted, while sacks don't mean everything and pressure means more important, it is concerning when you are giving up sacks. We saw ASU got their third down conversion after 9 attempts, and then the following play was an 8-yard sack. So it's kind of the inconsistency that I think we're going to have to grow accustomed to, especially when ASU is playing better teams. But all that being said, it is a positive. They were in the game late. You were in the game in the fourth quarter with a chance to take the lead with the ball. I mean, that's really all you can ask for. And they just came up short. I mean, they played a very good football team, and we'll see how far OSU ends up going. I
would like to disagree with something there that you said, Jake. I think you said that Emory Jones played well. I know I go back to numbers too much, but 12 for 24 to me is not really playing well. He showed flashes.
It's not just the 12 for 24. It's the lack of running too.
That doesn't really bother me because I don't want to get him hurt. He doesn't seem like somebody that wants to slide, as we saw in the first game. But the 12 for 24 really bothers me. I think he showed. It doesn't really bother me. I just don't think it's. I don't think it's a good performance. I think he showed flashes of greatness and then mostly inconsistency. And I tweeted this out. Sometimes he looks like Patrick Mahomes, and sometimes he looks like Rex Grossman. It's there's no in between. There's either he's out there and
pressure in his face a lot.
I agree.
Which is why I want him to get out of the pocket.
Yeah, I would rather see rolling out than taking off and running.
Yes.
Because I think that's where the most effective.
I think designed rollouts would be good for him.
Yeah,
that's exactly. Play calling. That comes down to play calling if you want to roll out.
Mm-hmm. And to go back to a point that you made a few moments ago, Jake, that first third down conversion came with 1 minute left in the third quarter.
They went 0 for 7 in the first half.
It's just not good enough.
They didn't have a single drive of over 5 plays after they had the opening drive field goal. I mean, they did nothing on offense after the first drive.
We're just gonna have to see. This team can have a game where they get back on the out to winning ways next week against Eastern Michigan. Should be a win for the Sun Devil team. We'll have to see what happens there next week. What you got, Jesse?
Hold on, I gotta look it up. I'm just gonna check what Eastern Michigan did this week.
Okay. They lost.
It was a 49-21 loss to Louisiana, who I think is still Louisiana Lafayette, but they say Louisiana. They're the Raging Cajuns. They lost 49-21. They're now 1-1.
And Ed Orgeron was on hand to watch.
Why?
I don't know. He was there.
Is he going to be there next week?
No,
Go Tigers.
Was at Louisiana.
Yeah, but why wouldn't he?
He's from Louisiana.
Maybe he's looking at the Eastern Michigan job.
We'll have a late kickoff too, 8 p.m.
That's exciting. 8 p.m. kickoff.
I hate that.
11 p.m. for those Eastern Michigan fans. That kind of sucks.
Are they in Eastern time?
Yes, they are.
Oof. Yeah, that's terrible. And those players. They're playing an 11 p.m. game.
We'll see if they show up. They'll be playing at midnight Eastern time. That'll be tough.
11 p.m.
Yeah,
Eastern
but
time.
I mean, like it's going to go to midnight.
Oh, yeah. They'll be playing at 2 a.m. potentially.
They'll be playing in 2 different days.
Yeah, they will. On their own clocks, not on ours.
That's going to do it for this post-game edition of State of the Sun Devils. Unfortunately, Sun Devils fall 34-17 in Oklahoma. Stillwater, Oklahoma, I should say, against Oklahoma State. Thank you so much for listening. For Jesse Morrison and Jake Anderson from Oklahoma, I'm Jeremy Schnell. Have a good rest of your night.
Ciao.
How are the live animals, Jake?
Dude, that horse is big as hell.